Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and there is a lot of basketball to talk about. We had 24 teams starting off their season, 12 games. I want to talk about each of them a little bit, but I want to focus primarily on Spurs versus Mavericks. I have a lot to say about that, and listen, right off the bat, I can make a full video, like an hour-long one, about Victor Wembanyama and what he did tonight. 40 points, 15 rebounds, 15 of 21 shooting, only 1 3, and that 3 that he made was a size-up, behind-the-back dribble, step-back 3 over Derek Lively, 4 and 1, 4-point play, multiple possessions where he made Anthony Davis look like he's never defended a real basketball player before, as one of the best defenders of this generation. Just alien is not enough to describe what Victor Wembanyama is. Unicorn isn't enough. There is never been a player even close to doing the stuff that Wemby does at this size. He's going to win Depoy. He's going to be in MVP talks. He will be All-NBA first team. And if he can get the Spurs high enough in the standings, yeah, he might win MVP. And by the end of the season, people might be talking about him as the best player in the world, or at least in those conversations. Just unbelievable to kick off the season. But I want to spend a majority of this video talking about the Dallas Mavericks because I want to make a video about them all off season, and I really didn't find the opportunity, but I continuously voiced in other videos like rankings and predictions and things like that. I didn't feel good about the Mavericks this season. Some people were bought in thinking they could be like a dark horse contender. They are a very polarizing team and have been ever since the Luka trade. Even before the Luka trade, Luka Doncic himself was a polarizing player, but especially now and after they got Cooper Flagg in the lottery, there are a lot of eyes on Dallas. How are they going to do this season? Will they be a dark horse, or will they not be that good like I kind of think? I've mentioned all off season, I'm not a big believer. I think there are real concerns with the roster construction, the lack of guard play. They're very front court heavy. I don't know how the spacing is going to look. There's a lot of pressure on Cooper Flagg to step up and elevate as an 18-year-old rookie. And listen, I think he's going to be the best player in this draft class, although VJ Edgecombe went berserk tonight. We'll talk about him later. But I think he's going to be a star, a superstar someday. But it's going to take time, and ask him to do a ton as an 18-year-old is probably just unreasonable for Dallas. And I know when Kyrie comes back, it's going to help things. But even still, he's a mid-30s guard that is coming off a major injury. What is he even going to look like when he returns? And even when he does come back, I don't think he fixes all these issues. That is kind of my little spiel about the Dallas Mavericks coming into the season. And when I tweeted about some of that, people are like, oh, you're overreacting. It's the preseason. But now today in this first game of the season, we saw a lot of that on display. And I'm not saying that the Mavericks season is over or anything, or that I'm 100% right because they played bad in one game where they did get smacked by 30. But there is a lot that is concerning here that goes right back to the points that I was just making. And the big thing is the roster construction. They just don't have guard play, which in my opinion is more important than ever in the NBA. I mean, we talked about Houston. A big reason why they lost the Thunder on opening night is because they didn't have anybody to reliably get the ball to Kevin Durant or Alperen Şengün on an entry pass around like the million waving arms of Thunder defenders. The Mavericks, like, they've got D'Angelo Russell, who they brought in, and I thought that was a fine addition, but as your lead guard, he's way too inconsistent and nowhere near reliable enough for this team that needs really reliable guard play to bring it all together. Like, they've got guys like Max Christie and Ryan Nembhard who are kind of interesting, but they're nowhere near that level. Klay Thompson, who is just really a shooter at this point, he didn't even shoot well in this game. I think it'll be better than 1 of 5 from 3 and 4 of 13 from the floor, but like, you see what I'm saying. They've got AD and PJ Washington and Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford and Najee Marshall. They've got all of these forwards, but no consistent guards. And so their solution is to try and turn Cooper Flagg into the point guard. He started point guard tonight, and I hated it. I thought it was a terrible decision, and it didn't work out. They got smoked, and Cooper Flagg looked very uncomfortable. And listen, it's his first game in the NBA. I'm not saying he can't be a good ball handler, a good playmaker, because I think he will be. It'll take time, but he will absolutely get there. He's going to be this elite Swiss Army knife, do-it-all point forward that is a lockdown defender at the peak of his career. I fully believe he has superstar potential, but I don't think it's as a point guard, and I think the Mavericks trying to shoehorn him into this position because they can't build a roster competently is hurting his development, and it's going to hurt the success of this team. Because typically, when you get a number 1 overall pick, you are not actively trying to compete for a championship. That's not usually the way it goes. But because of the flattened lottery odds and just a lot of luck for the Dallas Mavericks, I don't think they're trying to actually compete for a championship. But that was Nico Harrison's part of his rationale for trading Luka Doncic, which I still can't believe he did that, was that, oh, we're going to compete for a championship now. We think it makes us better. Defense wins championships. They have those aspirations. That is their goal. And so to make up for the injury to Kyrie and the inability to bring in any guards, they're like, okay, Coop, be our point guard. As an 18-year-old, fresh out of the draft, your first game against a Victor Wembanyama-led defense, go ahead and do that for us. And it went terribly. 4 of 13 from the floor, 3 turnovers, did end up with a double-double, 10 and 10, but all the shots that he made, or at least 3 of them, were him coming off a triple handoff or running around a screen. There was only one bucket where it's him initiating from the perimeter, and it was just a blow by in the corner where he ends up under the basket and then just hits an absurdly difficult circus-style layup. Like, that was just crazy touch. That's the kind of stuff that Cooper Flagg is capable of. And again, I think he will be more comfortable typically in this role. There's probably first game jitters, and he is playing a great defense, but there are going to be a lot of great defenses in the NBA, in the Western Conference. The Thunder, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, the Clippers, just to name a few. San Antonio, Portland is going to be really good defensively. You're going to run into a lot of good teams on that side of the ball if you're trying to be competitive in this West. Yeah, I do think getting him reps isn't a bad idea. A lot of people, when I said I didn't like the Cooper Flagg point guard thing, were like, nah, but you got to get him those experiences. You have to kind of throw him into the fire. It's going to make him better, like it did Giannis. Was everybody's argument is that Jason Kidd did this with Giannis, and it worked out. He's a superstar, an all-time talent now, that ultimately it was the right move. But in reality, I think people forget what point Giannis was. There was one season in 2015-16 where Giannis played point guard 40% of possessions, 59% were at the 2, 1% was at small forward. Every other year of his career, he has never played a single minute at the point guard spot because sure, he's been quote-unquote point Giannis, but he was point forward Giannis, as in he's doing all this ball handling and stuff more so at the 3, at the 4. And yeah, I think that's what turned Giannis into the player he is now, not being the point guard. It's that he got point guard ball handling reps, and Cooper Flagg can still do that at a 3, at a 4, with a more favorable context that allows him to actually be productive and get comfortable with the NBA, forcing him to slam his head against the wall over and over again as a point guard in a lineup that doesn't have good spacing for him, that is not at all productive to him being the best version of himself. I don't think is going to do him any good, especially when there are all these expectations on the Mavericks to be competitive after trading Luka Doncic and him as a #1 overall pick with all this hype around him. And maybe Jason Kidd will cancel this point Cooper Flagg experiment. I don't think he will, but I don't think it's going to work for him, and I don't think it's going to work for the Dallas Mavericks. Like, again, this is a team that has to kind of win. Like, they have no choice. AD is in his mid-30s, Kyrie is around that point too. They have to be competitive now. They don't have time to afford to let Cooper Flagg develop, and that's part of the reason why it's kind of sad that he ended up here, because he's now got all these expectations, this big burden, and maybe the pressure turns him into a diamond immediately, but it's just a lot. It's just a lot. I don't like the roster construction. I don't like the point Cooper Flagg thing. I don't think it makes sense. It doesn't optimize his skills. It doesn't let him grow and mold into the best version of himself. So give him some spacing. The ideal lineup for me would be, especially when Kyrie returns, Kyrie, Clay, Cooper Flagg at probably the 4 even. You could put him at the 3 and then PJ at the 4 and then AD at the 5. Because I do still think a big crux of everything, all the issues with the Mavericks, is that AD doesn't want to play the 5. I know you've got a lot of talent there with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, but I still think they should flip Daniel Gafford, his salary, for some guard play if you possibly can, and then just have Derek Lively come off the bench, because that's the situation you put yourself in. You could have just kept Luka Doncic. It's like hurting Derek Lively too, who, only played 10 minutes tonight because he was in foul trouble. But Derek Lively was so effective his first 2 years because he had an elite playmaker playing that point guard spot for him. And again, Cooper Flagg can get there, but if they would just bring in someone who could actually pass the ball, it would make life so much easier for Derek Lively too. I think it is hurting everybody. Like, it's hurting Derek Lively's development to not have a real playmaker on the roster and continue to give him those rim running opportunities and growth in that area. So yeah, that's my rant about the Dallas Mavericks. It is game 1. I'm not saying none of this can fix itself, that they are doomed, that they're just going to suck. I'm not saying that at all. But this is stuff I've been thinking all summer, that they are going to have big-time issues, and they're not going to be this dark horse that people think they are, because there are real legitimate flaws with this team that stem back to the Luka trade that I still cannot believe happened. Also, can we talk about the fact that the team that's all defense wins championships gave up 125 points in their first game, and kind of, when we talk about the guards, have no real guard defenders? Just continuous issues. That's my conversation. Spurs, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, all really good games. Keldon Johnson, 5 of 6. I mean, the Spurs just went nuclear. They were fantastic in this game. If you are one of the people that believes in the Spurs leap, you got to feel really good after this one. Okay, let's talk about VJ Edgecombe. The Sixers win by 1 point over the Boston Celtics, and VJ Edgecombe has the most points in a rookie debut since Wilt Chamberlain. Finishes with 34, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 50% shooting, 13 of 26, 5 of 13 from 3, just under 40%, only a couple of turnovers. VJ was incredible. This is what I want to see from the Sixers. Let VJ, Tyrese Maxey, those guys cook as much as possible. because they're both incredibly talented. Like Maxey also finished with 46 assists. Like he would have been the story of the game if VJ didn't have like that rookie record, because Max also shot 7 of 9 from 3, 13 of 24 from the field overall. He was unbelievable. He is like the primary reason why they won this game. And between him and VJ Edgecombe and Jared McCain, you've got this unbelievable trio to build around going forward into your next era. And there is a real chance, if like Joel Embiid continues to play like he did tonight, where he was 1 of 9, he was terrible, 0-4 from 3, very passive, just didn't look like himself, that you have to move on and start a rebuild sooner than later. And if that becomes the case, like VJ Edgecombe, Maxey, let those guys cook, Jared McCain, and just give them as many minutes, opportunities. They should be as involved as possible so that if you do move on, they are ready from the get-go. But I was so impressed. I loved Edgecombe going into the draft. I just didn't expect 34 like this from day one, going up against a Celtics defense that has real guard defenders. Like, I mean, Derek White is great. Jaylen Brown is an amazing defender too. And JB, Derek White both had 25 points. They were right there this whole game, but you can see the limitations of them offensively without a Jason Tatum. Like the last possession of the game, they get 2 opportunities to try and win the game because, again, they're down 1, but they can't get a shot off, and that's the spot where typically you give it to Jason Tatum and he shoots a turnaround jumper, or he drives the basket and gets fouled or something like that. Like, he is your go-to guy. It's going to continue to be an issue for the Celtics. But overall, this was a really fun game. 2 teams that are missing key guys, but still gave us a show. Couple quick takeaways from Cavs versus Knicks. Number 1, Evan Mobley is going to be amazing this season. He was so aggressive in this game. They're going to need that. Donovan Mitchell tried to take over in the third quarter, and he ultimately did to will them to a lead, but they still lose. And I think a lot of that is just missing Darius Garland. Like last year, they started off 15-0. Now they're 0-1, and I do think more losses are going to pile up at the beginning of the year, not having him to play make, create opportunities, be someone else that can come in and make things happen when Donovan Mitchell isn't out there. Now, Lonzo Ball did play well in terms of the playmaking, but 1 of 7 shooting from the floor and from 3. Every shot was a 3 for him. Like, that's possessions that you would prefer if Darius Garland had most of the time. For the Knicks, I was really impressed with OG and Mikal Bridges. Both played really well on both sides of the ball. Brunson and Cat hit some big shots. They played 11 guys in this game. Mike Brown going deep into his bag. Love to see that. Exploring the depth, figuring out what works on the bench, and still getting the win over one of your biggest competitions for the 1 seed. I think Knicks fans should feel really good about this game. The Magic got a close shootout win, surprisingly, over the Miami Heat. These are 2 teams that I don't think are going to be that insane offensively, but maybe I'm wrong. But Paolo, Franz, and Desmond Bane were the story. 24 and 24 from Paolo and Franz, 23 from Desmond Bane, 14 from Jalen Suggs, who is just such an X factor. I mean, he is like the heart and soul of this team, and he just is a game changer with his defense. Gogo was really good. Tristan DeSilva was great off the bench, had 16 on 5 of 8 shooting. This is just a really good Orlando team. I became higher and higher on them the more I thought about this offseason. I projected them to grab the 3 seed, and if Paolo, Franz, and Bane can put this together, like none of them were even close to perfect, I don't think, tonight. Foul trouble for Bane and Franz Wagner, and like, you know, Desmond Bane was below 40%, 41% from Paolo. I think there's still so much room for this trio to grow as an offensive grouping, and that's only going to come with time. So yeah, very happy with the results from them from game 1. For the Heat, I mean, Norman Powell went berserk, 28 points, 16 and 12 from Davion Mitchell. He was sick. Andrew Wiggins hit a big 3 towards the end of this game to keep it close. Jaime Jaquez was good. If you're a Heat fan, I don't think you can be too mad about this one. You lost on the road to a team that is supposed to be way better than you, and the offense actually looked pretty good against a really good defensive team without Tyler Hero. Like, honestly, I think this was a fine loss for the Heat, one that I'm actually kind of encouraged by. And for the rest of the games, I'm just going to run through them quickly here because the video is getting long. It is 3 a.m. as I'm recording this, and tomorrow I'm going to drop a video that is one takeaway from every NBA team's first game. So if you want to hear me go more in depth, make sure to subscribe and tune into that one. The Clippers got annihilated by the Utah Jazz, 129 to 108. I just think the Jazz, like, you want to talk about magnet ball, like that was kind of what we saw. Everybody played well. My biggest takeaway is that maybe the Jazz aren't going to be as bad as I thought. I still think they'll be the worst team in the Western Conference, but hey, maybe this offense has some juice, and Walker Kessler feels like this could be a career year for him. For the Clippers, they definitely looked a little old, a little bit slow, and I do think John Collins should be the starter for this team at the 4. Suns versus Kings, was impressed by the energy they came with. The Suns were down big. They made this big time comeback. Dillon Brooks is such a good piece to have on this team. I've become a fan of Dillon Brooks over time. What can I say? And for the Kings, it's just gonna be a bad season. Like, they just don't have a lot of, like, offensively or defensively. They just lack a lot on both sides of the ball. For the Wolves, big takeaway is the dagger shot from Anthony Edwards is a step back mid-range jumper, and he said in the offseason season to reach the level of like a Shea and a Luka, like the best players in the world at the guard spot. He needed to develop more of that in-between game. And the first game of his season, he goes ahead and knocks down a mid-range jumper to win them the game. I think that shows great self-awareness. It shows the improvement, and it shows that I do think Ant will take it to a new level. For the Blazers, the defense is really good. Ant is just kind of impossible to stop. They really could use some juice offensively. Shadon Sharp, if they could get a little bit more out of him, that would be fantastic. The Bucks put 133 on the Wizards' heads in a win. Giannis, I do think, will win the scoring title. Looked just like an absolute machine out there, which is unsurprising. And for the Wizards, I loved what I saw from Trey Johnson. I'm so excited to see him play this season. This whole rookie class feels special, and I think him as that bucket getter for them will be really fun. Grizzlies got the win over the Pelicans. Ja Morant, 35. Could this be the bounce back revenge season? Would absolutely love to see that, but he was amazing. And also Jaren Jackson fouls out. So the NBA season is truly back. And for the Pelicans, I really like what I saw from Jeremiah Fears. 17 points, 7 of 10 from the floor. They're going to need that from him. But yeah, really fun game from him. And they're going to need Derek Queen to step up because Yves Missi tweaked his ankle at the end of this game, and I think could theoretically miss some time. The Bulls beat the Pistons. Nikola Vucevic, maybe another year of the Vooch renaissance. It looked like that. And for the Pistons, they really could use Malik Beasley to come back and Jaden Ivey to return from injury, because they had one lineup in this game that I can't even remember what it was. I kind of blacked out it from my head because it was so disgusting, but it was like Javonte Green at the point guard. It was like the worst lineup I've ever seen. Can't understand why they did that. They deserve to lose this game. The Raptors bludgeoned the Hawks 138 to 118. Was really impressed by their offense. It looked a lot more fluid. It didn't look perfect, but a lot more fluid than I was expecting. The Hawks just didn't look as sharp defensively as I was hoping they would with all this talent now around Trae Young, and offensively, they were really up and down. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker really struggled, and Trae Young really struggled shooting the basketball. Maybe I need to slow my roll a little bit on the Hawks. I'm not going to overreact. It's game 1 of the season, but like it's at least something to note. And then the Hornets, I mean, they did their job. They beat the Brooklyn Nets. LaMelo, Brandon Miller were both really fun. I think this could be a really fun team this season. A lot of guys stepped up. And for the Nets, Jaeger Demon, 4 of 6 from the field from 3. That's promising. Like, he was your top 10 pick. Hopefully that can kind of progress, and I do think he should continue to get as many minutes as possible. Also, it was really fun at the beginning of the game when MPJ was the one option, but the rest of the game when he was taking shots, it was rough. This is going to be like a 12-win team. But yeah, with all that being said, those are my thoughts, my takeaways from tonight's games. I would love to hear how you felt about your favorite team's first game. Unless you're a Pacers or a Nuggets fan, then you got to wait till tomorrow. But everybody else, let me know down below in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos, and let me know how you feel about the Cooper Flagg point guard thing. If you're high on the Mavericks, if you're not, and did this game change anything, and where does Wemby rank for you in the NBA? Because oh my god, I can't believe he did that. Also, is VJ Edgecombe Michael Jordan 2.0? Some people are saying that. But yeah, appreciate watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, stay back.